Hi friends, welcome you all for today's session 2 of HR Analytics, and we are going to discuss Unit 2 or Module 2 of HRA Framework. So in this session, what we are going to glance, we are going to discuss regarding to benchmarking. So we are going to understand what is benchmarking in general terms and what is HR benchmarking, and what is HR scorecard as well as workforce scorecard. So we are going to discuss 4 important concepts in today's session. So to begin, we are going to understand what do you mean by benchmarking. Okay. So benchmarking is a structured process. What we can call is, it's a structured process where we are trying to assess, we are assessing one organization performance with the other organization, or one company's performance with the other company's performance. It's something where you're just comparing, okay, comparing between the two, where they are standing. So we're benchmarking where these two companies are standing in terms of various parameters. Okay, it can be the best practices. We say the best practices. So to define, what we can say is benchmarking is a structured process. It's a structured process to assess one organization performance against a group of other organization in order to establish that where is the best practices. So we are seeing two best companies. So we are taking the companies here. So which company is having the best practices? So it's a comparison. That's what I told. It's a comparing the performance. We're comparing the performance between the two companies. Okay. So that we come to know the competitors as well as the others, what they're practicing. Okay. So the goal of benchmarking. What is the goal of benchmarking? Here we try to identify the potential areas. So when you start comparing the best practices with other companies, okay, where they are, okay, how best they are. So what we come to know ultimately, so that we come to know where we are lacking. So which are the areas we have to improve. So we try to identify the potential areas of improvement in our functional aspects. So that is within the organization, and we try to modify those areas where we try to feel that no, we are somewhere lacking behind when compared with others. So we try to take up the identify the trends, and we start improving those areas where we are not up to mark. So that's the one of the goal of benchmarking. So I'll repeat, the goal of benchmarking is something where you are identifying the potential areas of wherever it is required for your improvement, and you try to implement within the organization so that you identify the trend. So identifying the trend, you go with the trend. Okay, so next is an organization can benchmark. So what and all organization can benchmark generally when I speak, okay. So usually they benchmark the cost, okay. They compare the cost with other organization, with other company, the quality, what the qualities they are giving, what this company is giving, what others are giving, and the process, okay. They usually compare the process too. Okay, how well, efficient or effective way they are running the process, okay, financial aspect and the human capital aspect. So these are the areas where we try to benchmark, we try to compare, okay, the best practices, okay. And we can say that benchmarking is something also an organization can also benchmark against the group. Okay, what we can do is the similar industries, they can, when they are benchmarking, either they can take the similar industries or they can also go with the dissimilar industries, dissimilar organization. So depending on the outcome decide. So what is the outcome they are expecting, they just go with the depending on the desired outcome. So they pick up the organization, similar or dissimilar organizations. Okay, next to take up the next one is by this keeping understanding of the general concept of this benchmarking, okay, we now try to understand what is HR benchmarking. Okay, here what we were doing is benchmarking says that you are just comparing, you are comparing with others, the best practices, okay, generally in terms of what we said, the cost, quality or the process or other activities. Here when I mean the HR benchmarking is also structured process. It's also one of the process where you try to collect the data. You are trying to collect the data of where is your HRM functions, okay, from your HRM system, okay. You are trying to collect all the HR areas or the units, okay, and you are just trying to compare your HR practices, okay, HR functional units or the practices with the world-class competitors. So with their HR practices, Okay, we are trying to compare. We are trying to compare the practices or the policies or the programs or the process or whatever it is. We are trying to compare with the other competitors, whether it can be the large numbers, okay, large organizations or the small organization too. So here, when I say HR benchmarking, I am benchmarking the HR functional areas, my HR system with other world-class organization with their HR practices, and I am trying to evaluate, okay, their performance in the areas, in the HR areas, what is their performance and what is our outcome, what are we giving. So when I see the betterment in who is doing the better, whose is better, so there I am just benchmarking so that I can improve my HR functional areas. So this is called HR benchmarking. Okay, now HR benchmarking is an indispensable tool. It's an indispensable tool that organization can use. We are using to measure what are we, why are we using this HR benchmarking? See, finally, if I benchmarking all my HR functions here only to minimize my cost, to make my finance better, because all my HR units or the areas, the cost is incurred there. Okay, so just to improve or minimize the cost and to give the better revenue for the organization, whatever the financial investment they're doing, and to leverage the cost there, okay, the corresponding workforce productivity with respect to the peer companies. I'm just thinking in that aspect. Okay, remember why I'm doing that, why I'm looking for the improvement in my HR areas is, only thing is I'm measuring the HR financial investments there, and also the leverage corresponding, okay, workforce productivity with respect to the peer companies. Okay, next, HR benchmarking is a process. We can also call it as a process that is used in order to compare similar characteristics across organization in order to identify the milestones. What we can say is, milestone means, we again say where we are, where others are, whether we are left behind, whether we are also with them, or whether we are backward. So what we can do is, we can also compete, we can also be in the competitors line, and for the sustainability we have to benchmark. Okay, now HR benchmarking involves, what and all it involves when I'm benchmarking is, involves looking at the policies. We have to look into the policies, practices and the programs what the organizations is having, and we are comparing those policies and the practices with the competitors, contrasting those with any other similar industries or the similar organizations or the competitors. We try to compare. Generally, that's what HRA framework. When I say the framework speaks about the approaches. So what is that? The systematic approach what we are having in the program, policies or the practices. Okay, that was our HRA framework speaks about, to make it the strong. Okay, same way what I'm doing is, I'm just looking into my policies or the practices, okay, of my company, and I'm just comparing those things with the others, okay, of the similar sectors, who is better, okay, who is much better. So what I can say, it is a process that is in order to compare. We are comparing with the similar characteristics across the organization in order to identify the milestones. Okay, now by doing this, what happens is, when we are applying this kind of comparing, okay, when we start comparing with the others, okay, what happens is the transformation happens. We can see the better transformations of the companies. Okay, not only the companies, even the HR process and the people management strategies can also be improved. We can also come up with the better people management strategies. So this is the one thing about the HR benchmarking. Okay, so moving to the next one, what we can say is, the importance of HR benchmarking. So let's understand the importance of HR benchmarking. The next one, so what we say is, next one is, here we say about, I'm speaking about the importance of HR benchmarking here. Coming to the topic of this HR benchmarking, what let's try to understand is the importance of HR benchmarking. So we are trying to understand what? Importance of HR benchmarking. See, the very first is, using this benchmarking data, what we do is usually we compare. We are comparing with what? This organization against the competitors. So we compare ourselves with the competitors or the similar sectors or the similar industry. For example, cost per hire. So I'm just doing the cost per hire. So what is happening to what is the way I am doing? So what are the others doing? So this way I start comparing. So this is one such important of HR benchmarking. Okay, what the very important is HR benchmarking does is comparing. Okay, it compares. Very one such example what I gave is cost per hire. So what the present organization we are doing and what others are doing with respect to this one, hiring decision. Okay, next it protects the program areas. Okay, this by benchmarking now, HR benchmarking, what it generally does is it protects program areas. It is going to protect the program areas that are performing well. Okay, HR areas here, program areas are nothing but our HR areas. Okay, our HR units, all the HR units, and we see they are performing well. For example, when I'm benchmarking now, for example, what I can say is lower recruiting cost. So yes, I'm performing, my recruitment is performing well because I'm having a lower recruitment cost. So this is how, when I see compared with my competitors, their recruitment cost is high, whereas ours is less. So we are much better. So what is the strategy we are applying? So that way it is. Okay. Next one, it creates momentum for organizational change. Remember what this HR benchmarking does is, it also creates a momentum for organizational change. Because we are comparing with the competitors, we are comparing with the similar industries or the different sectors and we are in that process, comparing process, we are into the change process. Naturally, we try to the change by adopting the good practices of the competitors. Okay, so compensation practices, for example, compensation practices. So I feel that other companies are doing better compensation practices, better compensation design. So I adopt that compensation design change. So this way, so we can expect the organizational change by HR benchmarking. And benchmarking is more effective. So remember that benchmarking is more effective when we used as a part of overall business strategy. So benchmarking, when I'm doing, remember that you are doing the benchmarking for all your HR units, and these units now overall they're going to reflect the business strategy. Ultimately, they're all linked, so they are going to connect to our business strategy. Remember that benchmarking is more effective when we are using, okay, when we are thinking in a way, in such a way that as an overall business strategy. For the business strategy, we are making use of it. And it is less effective when companies use it only for short-term goal. When we start benchmarking anything, okay, it's we are benchmarking for only for the company's sake, means that is only for the short term. Remember, it's only for the short term and not for the long term strategy. Okay. So an example, what we can say is when an organization lowers, okay, when it is lowering the training budgets, okay, to meet the short term budget goal. What we are doing, example I'm just giving, organization, what it decides is it cuts the training cost. Okay, it's only for the short term budget goal. Okay, that way we have to think. So benchmarking, if it want to be more effective, remember that it has to be for the long term, okay, as well as for the short term. You can do it as well as long term or the short term. Okay, and remember when we are benchmarking, when we are doing a benchmarking kind of HR benchmarking, even organization cultures are very important. Okay, organization cultures are important, and even the leadership behaviors are very much important. Okay, and that's also one of the important here. That is the importance of HR benchmarking. Culture, organization culture should be there to promote this benchmarking. We have to accept the competitors if they are best in that, and even the leadership for that to bring the transformation. So we have to welcome the leadership also. Okay, and organization can transform our HR strategy to achieve, okay, to achieve and surpass industry performance standards. Remember that if you are transforming, okay, if I am transforming my HR strategy, remember that we have to think it for only for the achievements. Okay, it's only for the achievements of the performance standards we're doing. Okay, if I'm benchmarking any kind of thing, okay, if I'm adopting, okay, if I'm comparing, it's only for my performance standards of the company. Okay, so benchmarking activities against planned strategically with a particular goals in the mind. Okay, when we are benchmarking, we always keep certain goals and the objective in the mind, and then we start plan strategically. Okay, and again this HR benchmarking, it creates a system. It is going to create a system that is more reliable and valuable. You can start trusting it, okay, whatever the in all HR units, and you can see the valuable measures in our HR units. So we can say it creates a ultimate organized kind of system it is going to create. Okay, and it is a mechanism. Remember that HR benchmarking, it's a mechanism. Okay, we can call it as a mechanism for measuring process, because we are measuring, that's what when we say benchmarking, it is starting from the process to practice to programs to policies, everything we start benchmarking, we start comparing with the competitors. So that's what we say, it's a mechanism for measuring the process, the practices and the results, even the results also against the competitors to improve the performance. What we are ultimately doing, all these things we are doing only for the better results. Okay, for the better performance, better results and the better outcomes when we compare with the competitors to improve our performance. Okay, I'll just go back for this HR benchmarking. Okay, let's see the importance of this benchmarking. Okay, going back to this HR benchmarking importance, what I say is the very first one, what we took, importance of HR benchmarking. What it does, it starts comparing. What it does, it first compares, it's comparing. Okay, compare, when I said, I gave an example that we are comparing with the competitors, that is the first importance. The second importance is it going to protect the overall events, overall areas of your HR functions, it is going to protect. Okay, and next one, it's going to bring an organizational change, it is going to get us an overall change because we're comparing with the competitors. And always it also brings the better business strategy, it is going to get us a business strategy either in the terms of long term or the short term. Again, this HR benchmarking, it's going to get us what? A good culture, organization culture, as well as a good leadership here. And then we can see the performance standards, there, and we can also see what from this HR benchmarking, other importance like as I told, performance standards. Okay, after performance standards is like it's planned strategically. Okay, we can also plan strategically. Okay, strategically we already discussed, like either it can be the short term or the long term also. And finally it also going to create a system. Okay, this is going to create a system which we can be reliable or valuable kind of thing, and it's a mechanism. Finally this HR benchmarking now, it creates a measuring mechanism kind of things in the process, in the practice and the programs and all. Finally it's going to give us the better results against the competitors so that we can improve our performance. So these are the things very important, importance of HR benchmarking. Okay, now moving to the next concept, that is HR scorecard. So let's understand what do you mean by this HR scorecard. Okay, HR scorecard is something, it's a visual representation, as I already listed here. It's a visual representation of human resource department achievement. Okay, of the achievement, it's been listed here. Okay, it's a visual representation of human resource department's achievement or the productivity, or even it can be the other factors, okay, which are important to the organization. It's very simple. I'll repeat again. What is HR scorecard is, HR scorecard is nothing but it's a kind of visual representation of all our HR activities or the functions or the units of the department. Okay, HR department, whatever we have, the achievements or the productivity or any other factors related, okay, and those things are creating values or the importance to the organization. We are going to put it in the form of a visual representation, that we call it as an HR scorecard. Also, what we can say is HR scorecard is a measurement. It can also be called as measurement as well as an evaluation system. We can also call it as an evaluation system for redefining the roles of our HR units, so that when you start redefining, we can become a HR strategic partners. See, by scorecard, see, by doing this visual representation of our companies, whatever it is, it can be the achievements or the productivity or other factors. When we start doing, ultimately what we do is we start measuring these areas. Okay, once we start measuring means we are evaluating all those areas. So when evaluation takes place in these areas, finally the evaluation of systems comes into picture. So wherever we are just feel that not up to mark, we start redefining those roles of HR. Okay, so once we start redefining, finally we can say we are the better strategic partner. Okay, see, factors, let's take the factors which will be measured. I'm just giving an example. Okay, so what are and all we try to measure, okay, or what and all we try to evaluate. For example, cost. Okay, I've already told cost in HR, it comes in all our HR units, starting from the procurement, okay, then the development, then the compensation, integration, maintenance. All these areas you can see the cost. So we can measure there, okay, and we can evaluate and we can redefine for the improvement, for the betterment, okay. And hiring is one more example. Turnover, performance management, alignment. So finally we can do the balancing, okay, keeping the goal of the corporate, okay, keeping the goal or the objective of the corporate. So we are taking certain examples or the areas and we try to measure these things. As I told, cost it can be, hiring it can be, or the turnover it can be, absenteeism it can be, or the performance it can be. So we are checking the balancing act there. So finally, we have to say that HR scorecard, what it does is, it links things. It is going to link the things that people do in line. We are ensuring that these measurements, already said, what gets measured gets managed, what gets managed gets measured. So we are seeing that they're all in the proper line, so that what happens with the strategy, what we're doing, okay, with regarding to the PISA, we are linking that whether they're all in lines with the strategy of a function and the company. Okay, I'll repeat. So what we do is, finally this HR scorecard, by keeping this visual representation, we see that whether it links the people, okay, whatever the HR, human resource or the human capital, do in the line with the strategy of a function and the company. Okay. Now moving to the next is, let's see this is the HR scorecard. So next one is workforce scorecard. Okay, now what is this workforce scorecard then? Very simple again. See, workforce scorecard, again it's a kind of framework. Even it is because we are in a HRA framework, so even this is a kind of a framework where it is trying to identify, it tries to identify and measure, okay, what is trying to identify and measure the outcomes, okay, behavior, competencies, mindsets, culture. So these are the things what workforce scorecard does. Here also our HR scorecard, it gives a visual representation of an in the areas of like achievements or the productivity or other factors we took. Okay, again it is going to measure and evaluate. Even this scorecard is also what it is doing, it is measuring and evaluating all these areas. Same way, workforce scorecard also, it's a kind of such a framework. What it tries to do is, it is going to identify and measure, okay, identify and measure the outcomes, okay, the behavior, competences, mindset and the culture required, and these are very much required for the success, okay, success of a company, as well as it reveals how each dimensions, okay, these dimensions now, how it is impacts the bottom line. Remember, we have to keep in mind that these ultimately what we are speaking is, ultimately they are required for the success of a company, success of an organization, and they are going to reveal how these dimensions are going to impact the bottom lines. Okay, now this workforce scorecard has 4 key elements. It is having the 4 key elements. Okay, what are those 4 key elements is workforce success. One is workforce success. Second one is leadership and workforce behavior. And workforce competency, and next one is workforce mindset and culture. That's what I've just repeated here. One is the workforce success, what we say the outcome. Workforce success is the outcome, and next one is leadership and workforce behavior. That is nothing but the behavior, it has been listed here. And workforce competency, it is nothing but just speaking about the competencies of the people here. And last one is workforce mindset and the culture. Okay, next is workforce success. Workforce success means outcome. Okay, let's try to understand the outcome here in terms of workforce scorecard. Okay, here the question is, as the workforce accomplish, here the question is very simple, as the workforce accomplish the key strategic objectives for the business. We are speaking in the terms of success, we are speaking in the terms of outcomes. So here the question what it arises is, the workforce has accomplished the key strategic objectives. Have we met the objectives, or have we met the goals? so that we can speak in terms of outcomes or the success. Okay. Now coming to the next one, leadership and workforce behavior. Next we are speaking to the behavior, leadership and workforce behavior. All the leadership team and workforce consistently behaving in such a way that whether that is leading to the achieving the strategic objective. We have to ensure that when you're speaking in terms of leadership and the behavior, we are asking ourselves, all the leadership, that is a team and the workforce, consistently behaving. Okay, are they behaving in such a way that whether it is leading to the achievement of the strategic objectives? Okay, and next one, workforce competencies. Does the workforce is having knowledge, skill, ability kind of employees so that to execute the strategy? Here, competencies again, we are identifying ourselves as is the workforce is having the competent, that is the knowledge, skill, ability people, so that we can execute the strategies. And finally, that is the mindset and the culture, that we say workforce, mindset and the culture, and we are assessing ourselves that does the workforce understand, whether it is trying to understand the strategy and they do have the culture, mindset. Are they understanding the strategy? Okay, and they have the culture. Okay, culture to what? To support the strategy execution. To support the strategy execution. So these are the areas what generally the workforce scorecard tries to concentrate. So this is how it tries to evaluates. Okay, it is trying to evaluating. Okay, so I think in today's session we have tried to understand the 4 important concepts, that is the benchmarking. Okay, what is HR benchmarking and what is HR scorecard as well as workforce scorecard. So see you soon in the next session. Thank you very much.